Namaskar, hello and welcome to Sansad TV. I'm Teena Jha. LIC IPO subscribed nearly 3 times on the last day of offer period. The government raises 21,000 crore rupees. In neighboring Sri Lanka, there is turmoil once again amid the worst economic crisis. The country is once again witnessing violent protests. Embattled Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa has resigned. Details on these big stories of the day on the news tonight. But as always, first the headlines. The government committed to development of Bodo-dominated areas, asserts Union Home Minister Amit Shah, inaugurates BSF's central store and workshop in Tamulpur, also visits Indo-Bangladesh border in Assam. Strong response by policyholders and institutional investors to LIC's IPO. Issue subscribed nearly 3 times, bids received for more than 47 crore 70 lakh equity shares. Justice Sudhanshu Dhulia and Justice Jamshed B. Pardiwala take oath as Supreme Court judges. The apex court achieves its full strength of 34 judges. Cyclone Asani turns into severe cyclonic storm. Alerts issued at all ports and coastal areas of Odisha. The fishermen advised not to venture into the sea. And political turmoil intensifies in Sri Lanka. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa submits his resignation. Curfew imposed after protests in the country. Ruling party MP killed in violent clashes. A quick check now on some other stories that made news through the day today. Centre files affidavit in Supreme Court, says it will re-examine and reconsider Section 124A of the Indian Penal Code that criminalizes offence of sedition. Lakhimpur Kheri incident might not have occurred had Union Minister Ajay Mishra not threatened farmers, says Allahabad High Court. National Investigative Agency conducts multiple raids in Mumbai and adjoining Thane districts on Dawood aides, detains Chota Shakil's aide Salim Qureshi. Specially abled child barred from boarding Indigo flight in Ranchi. DGCA forms 3-member team for fact-finding inquiry. The Supreme Court refuses to entertain petition filed by CPIM against demolition drive in Delhi's Shaheen Bagh. Says court cannot interfere with anti-encroachment drive at instance of a political party. Cyclone Asani intensifies. IMD sounds alert for Andhra Pradesh, Odisha and West Bengal. Madhya Pradesh government to pay entire fee of Ladli Lakshmi, says Chief Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan. Rupee weakens further to close at a new all-time low of 77.50 against the US dollar. Firefighters brave strong winds to control fierce forest fire in New Mexico. More than 300 houses destroyed due to the blaze. Japan to follow G7 bloc of developed economies in stopping oil imports from Russia. Now the news in detail. Union Home Minister Amit Shah on Monday said peace has been brought to Assam due to the efforts of the Narendra Modi government. He said over 9,000 militants have laid down arms and returned to the mainstream in the last 7 years. Amit Shah was addressing a gathering after laying the foundation stone of the BSF central store and workshop. He also launched Khadi and village industries products at Tamulpur in Bodoland territorial region of Assam. The Home Minister said the signing of the Bodo Accord was the landmark in bringing peace to the Bodoland area. He said 90% clauses of the accord have been fulfilled by the centre as well as the Assam government. He also said the government is committed for the overall development of Bodoland areas.
खादी और ग्राम उद्योग आयोग उसके उत्पादों को एक साथ हम 107 पैरामिलिट्री की कैंटीनों में उपलब्ध कराएंगे। मित्रों, खादी ग्राम उद्योग बोर्ड, खादी ग्राम उद्योग आयोग न केवल ग्रामीण विकास के लिए काम करता है, खादी ग्राम उद्योग बोर्ड का मतलब है देश के हर बेरोजगार को रोजगारी देने के लिए का एक प्रयास।
The Union Home Minister also reviewed the situation along the Assam-Bangladesh border in Mankachar sector of Assam. He was accompanied by BSF officials who reviewed the situation along the border from a surveillance tower. Amit Shah also interacted with the local villagers in the area. He also reviewed a flag march conducted by the personnel posted on the borders of both India and Bangladesh. Amit Shah also inaugurated census building and SSB at Amigaon in Assam. He said the e-census will ensure cent% enumeration and also provide the basis for the country's development plans for the next 25 years. Listen in.
कि आने वाली जनगणना जो अभी रुकी पड़ी है कोविड के कारण, वो जनगणना जब भी शुरू होगी वो ई जनगणना होगी, इलेक्ट्रॉनिक जनगणना होगी और 100% परफेक्ट जनगणना होगी, जिसके आधार पर देश के आगामी 25 साल के विकास का खाका खींचा जाएगा।
Amit Shah, who reached Kamakhya hilltop by helicopter, offered prayers at the Kamakhya temple before leaving for Mankachar. Along with Assam Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sarma, the Home Minister also performed Bhumi Pujan in Tamulpur. Moving on, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has said 3 public security schemes, Pradhan Mantri Jeevan Jyoti Bima Yojana, Pradhan Mantri Suraksha Bima Yojana and Atal Pension Yojana have brought insurance and pension facility within the reach of the common man in the country. Addressing an event to mark the 7th anniversary of the 3 social security schemes, the Finance Minister said the number of people who enrolled and benefited under these schemes is proof of their success. Prime Minister Modi had launched these schemes on the 9th of May 2015. And Life Insurance Corporation of India IPO received a strong response from investors, with the offering being subscribed nearly 3 times. LIC received bids for over 47 crore 70 lakh equity shares as against the total 16.2 crore equity shares offered in the IPO. It was 6.09 times the authorized quota for policyholders, employees 4.38 times and retail investors 1.98 times. For qualified institutional buyers, it was 2.83 times and non-institutional investors 2.91 times. Union Minister of Industries and Commerce Piyush Goyal inaugurated an industrial production sales cum expo which was organized in Daman district of the Dadra Nagar Haveli and Daman Diu Union Territory. The expo has been organized on a large scale for the first time in the history of the state. An industry museum narrates the development of industries. Various seminars will also be held till the 16th of May. And these will focus on the schemes of the Government of India related to the industry that will be told.
$420 बिलियन का एक्सपोर्ट सामान का, वस्तुओं का, साथ ही साथ सेवा क्षेत्र में, सर्विसेज में $254 बिलियन, यानी दोनों मिलाएं तो लगभग 50 लाख करोड़ का निर्यात भारत के इतिहास में पहली बार इन सारी चुनौतियों के बावजूद हो। इसका ये एक संकेत देता है कि आगे चल के पूरे विश्व के देश भारत के साथ अपना व्यापार बढ़ाना चाहते हैं।
Cyclonic storm Asani over the Bay of Bengal is moving towards coastal Andhra Pradesh and Odisha, although it is expected to weaken gradually over the next 2 days. According to the Met Department, winds can move at 120 kilometers per hour. There is also a possibility of heavy rain in coastal areas. The storm is likely to move northwestwards by Tuesday and reach west central and adjoining northwest Bay of Bengal off North Andhra Pradesh and Odisha coasts. It is very likely to weaken gradually into a cyclonic storm during the next 48 hours. As a precaution, fishermen have been advised not to venture into the sea. The storm has triggered heavy rains in West Bengal. Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee has postponed her tour of the districts.
It is moving in a northwesterly direction and it is expected to move in the same direction, that is northwesterly direction, till 10th afternoon, 10th evening. And in the afternoon to evening of 10th May, it is expected to recurve in a northeasterly direction. And almost all the models are pointing to a recurvature around 10th of May afternoon to evening. And then it will move parallel to the coastline of India, that is particularly Odisha coast.
Moving on to some other news, Chief Justice N.V. Ramana administered the oath of office to Justice Sudhanshu Dhulia and Justice Jamshed B. Pardiwala in the Supreme Court on Monday. Justice Dhulia was the Chief Justice of the Guwahati High Court, while Justice Pardiwala was a judge in the Gujarat High Court. Now, with their elevation to the apex court, the Supreme Court will now be functioning at its full strength of 34. In some other national news, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar met Jamaican Foreign Minister K.J. Smith on Monday. The meeting comes ahead of President Ramnath Kovind's visit to Jamaica. Smith's candidature for Commonwealth Secretary General and other issues were discussed. The President will be on a week-long visit to Jamaica and St. Vincent starting the 15th of May. Congress President Sonia Gandhi addressed the party's working committee on Monday, and she said party leaders and functionaries need to work with selflessness and discipline, as there is no magic wand to make the party strong again. She also asserted that the upcoming Nav Sankalp Chintan Shivir in Udaipur on the 13th till the 15th of May should not be just a ritual, but should reflect on the reorganization of the party. The NIA conducted searches at several locations associated with people with the Mumbai blast accused Dawood Ibrahim. Raids were also conducted at the premises owned by known Hawala operators in Mumbai. The NIA is handling investigations into the cases relating to Dawood Ibrahim in February 2022. Meanwhile, the BSF shot down a Pakistani drone aircraft near the border village of Bharowal in Amritsar district in Punjab. Over 10 kgs of heroin was recovered. South Delhi Municipal Corporation officials carried out an anti-encroachment operation in the Shaheen Bagh area on Monday. The action sparked protests by local residents, including women. Following the protest, the SDMC officials returned without taking any action. Talking about the pandemic, 3,207 new cases of COVID-19 were reported in the last 24 hours in the country. The number of patients under treatment came down by over 200 cases to 20,403. The national rate of recovery of patients stands at 98.74%. And the country remembered Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore on his birth anniversary today. Tributes were paid to him at the Central Hall of Parliament. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also paid tributes to the Nobel laureate on his birth anniversary. And time for a short break here, but on the other side, a very interesting story about camel safaris, how they are capturing the imagination of tourists in Kenya's national parks. Details on that story when we return.
फैसले जो बन जाए हकीकत, फैसले जो बन जाए नसीहत, फैसले जो आपका जीवन बदल दें, फैसले जो आपको बेहतर कल दें। कैबिनेट के फैसलों की सही तस्वीर कैबिनेट दिस वीक सिर्फ संसद टीवी पर।
सुप्रभात,
आपके साथ दिन की शुरुआत,
चाय की चुस्की
और हर छोटी बड़ी खबर का स्वाद।
करियर,
टेक,
फाइनेंस की होगी क्लास,
कलाकार घोलने आएंगे
मुस्कुराहटों की मिठास।
देखिए
नए कलेवर में रंगा इंडिया, हेलो इंडिया,
सोमवार से शनिवार सुबह 8 बजे सिर्फ संसद टीवी पर।
Welcome back. News now from neighbouring Sri Lanka, which is under fresh turmoil. Violent clashes have resulted in the deaths of a ruling party MP and his personal security officer, while scores of other people have been injured. Amid the worsening situation, Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa resigned on Monday. Here's the latest report from the crisis-torn country.
On Friday, Sri Lankan President Gotabaya Rajapaksa requested his brother, Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa, to step down as a solution to the ongoing political crisis in the country. With the resignation coming through on 3 days later, President Rajapaksa is expected to invite all political parties in parliament to form an all-party cabinet. Earlier, the opposition party confirmed that its leader S. Premadasa will not accept the PM's post in an interim government. On Monday morning, pro-Rajapaksa protesters held a demonstration opposite the temple trees, the official residence of the Prime Minister. After their meeting with the Prime Minister, they clashed with anti-government protesters. At least 16 people were hospitalized with injuries. Diplomats and rights groups had expressed concern on Saturday after the Sri Lankan president declared emergency and police used force against peaceful protests against the economic crisis in the country. Rajapaksa had declared a public emergency on Friday, allowing detentions, property seizure and search of any premises. He can also change or suspend any law in the interest of public security and for the maintenance of the essential supplies. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
Let's now take a look at all the other developments coming in from the war front in Ukraine. Ukraine's defense ministry says Russian forces, backed by tanks and artillery, are conducting storming operations on the Azovstal steel plant in Mariupol, where the city's last defenders are holed up. Russia has previously denied assertions by Ukrainian officials that it has tried to storm the Soviet-era steelworks on the Sea of Azov, where civilians have also been sheltering. The European Union will respond next month to Ukraine's bid to join the bloc, a key step before the issue is taken up by member states. The EU Commission's President Ursula von der Leyen said it will aim to deliver its opinion in the month of June. In April, the EU Commission President visited Kiev to show solidarity with Ukraine and also agreed that Brussels would consider Ukraine's long-standing ambition to join EU. Moscow's chief negotiator is in talks with Kiev over ending the war, and he has said that discussions have not stopped and are continuing remotely. He also said that Russia needed more specifics in order to meet in person. The two sides have not held face-to-face peace talks since the 29th of March. Though they have met by video links, Moscow has accused Kiev of stalling the talks and also using reports of atrocities committed by Russian troops in Ukraine to undermine the negotiations. Meanwhile, Russia has claimed that its forces have destroyed a US-made counter-battery radar station near the eastern Ukrainian town of Zolot. There was no immediate reaction to the claim from Washington. The US and other NATO allies have been supplying increasingly heavy weapons to Kiev in recent weeks as it faces down Moscow's refocused offensive in eastern Ukraine's Donbas region. Mariupol City Council has posted a video on Telegram showing what it says is a mass grave where the bodies of hundreds of civilians killed by Russian forces are being buried. Rows of hastily dug graves and several body bags can be seen in this footage. The council said the mass grave was located near a village about 14 kilometers east of Mariupol, where Moscow-backed separatists staged a parade earlier on Monday. Meanwhile, Russia celebrated the 77th anniversary of the Soviet victory over Nazi Germany with a military parade in Moscow on Monday. The Victory Day parade honors Russia's heroes of the Second World War, a conflict that ended 77 years ago. The rest of the world, however, is focused on its conflict in its neighboring Ukraine.
Russia's Victory Day procession on Monday, with 11,000 troops, 131 units of military equipment, and even the historic Soviet World War II era T-34 battle tank. Russian President Vladimir Putin used the occasion to cast Moscow's military action in Ukraine as a forced response to Western policies. Putin drew parallels between the Red Army's fighting against the Nazi troops and the Russian forces' action in Ukraine. He said the campaign in Ukraine was a timely and necessary move to ward off what he described an absolutely unacceptable threat just next to our borders.
Таким образом, планомерно создавалась абсолютно неприемлемая для нас угроза, причем непосредственно у наших границ. Все говорило о том, что столкновение с неонацистами, бандеровцами, на которых США и их младшие компаньоны сделали ставку, будет неизбежным. Повторю, мы видели, как разворачивается военная инфраструктура, как начали работать сотни зарубежных советников, шли регулярные поставки самого современного оружия из стран НАТО. Опасность росла с каждым днем. Россия дала упреждающий отпор агрессии. Это было вынужденное, своевременное и единственно правильное решение.
Putin scolded the West for failing to heed the Russian demands for security guarantees and a rollback of NATO's expansion. The Russian leader claimed that the Russian troops were fighting for the country's security in Ukraine. A minute of silence was observed to honor the troops who fell in combat. Putin also noted that some of the troops taking part in the parade previously have fought in Ukraine. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
And some other global updates in this quick world wrap. Filipinos are voting for a new president. The top contenders are Ferdinand Marcos Jr., the son of his namesake former dictator, and a champion of reforms, Vice President Leni Robredo. 8 other candidates, including a former boxing star, Manila Mayor, and a former national police chief, are far behind in voter preference surveys. The winner of Monday's election will take office on the 30th of June for a single 6-year term. Philippines is trying to revive a pandemic-battered economy and also recover from a brutal anti-drugs crackdown led by outgoing leader Rodrigo Duterte. Stores in Beijing were closed on Monday after authorities asked non-essential businesses to suspend operations. The suspensions come on top of earlier restrictions that limited restaurants and bars to offer only takeouts and closed gyms and as other entertainment venues as well. The additional restrictions announced by Beijing authorities on Friday exempt supermarkets, takeout eateries and other essential businesses. Iran claims it is ready to sign a nuclear deal if America pays back what it has stolen from the pockets of the Iranian nation. A foreign ministry spokesman said on Monday that the United States must return the unspecified funds. Talks over salvaging the 2015 nuclear accord between Iran and world powers in Vienna have stalled for weeks. The Deputy Secretary General of the European External Action Service is due to visit Tehran on Tuesday to discuss the resumption of talks. Hong Kong's newly chosen leader, John Lee, had a brief meeting with current leader Carrie Lam on Monday. It comes the day after Lee was elected by a committee vetted by the security service that he used to head. Lee is a former police officer promoted into government administration. After their meeting, Lee led Lam out to meet media, but they both only made brief statements and refused to answer any questions. Search crews found a black Labrador in one of the floors of Hotel Saratoga that was destroyed in an explosion on Saturday. The dog was visibly shaken but in good health. Cuban officials on Sunday raised the known death toll to 30 from 27, even as crews continued to search for victims. Search crews with dogs hunted through the ruins of a luxury hotel for survivors of an apparent gas explosion. Hotel Saratoga was a 5-star, 96-room hotel in Old Havana. It was preparing to reopen after being closed for 2 years due to the pandemic. Well, camel safaris are the latest eco-friendly way to see the wildlife of Kenya's national parks. The animals are considered better for the environment as they do not emit noxious fumes or tear up the ground beneath them. Here's a report.
Across Kenya's Sosambu Conservancy, camels are the latest mode of transport carrying tourists. It is a very different experience from all-terrain vehicles typically associated with a safari. It is all about getting a bit closer to nature and considering the environmental impact of a holiday. Getting to hard-to-reach areas is key to a great safari. It means the tourist can get closer to more elusive creatures like these giraffe grazing in the undergrowth, and there is no need to travel light. Camels can carry up to 200 kilograms of luggage. But for Bobong safaris, which offer these trips, the main benefit is the low environmental impact. The camels are very good at eating invasive species, which helps the environment. Also, they don't leave a footprint when you walk with them, and they carry everything that you need on your trip. Moreover, camels don't drink too much water, so they can go up to 5 days without needing to drink. A camel safari costs $45 per person for a day trip and $200 for an overnight stay, including camping and meals. Four-wheel, vehicle-based safaris, on the other hand, cost $180 a day, plus fuel costs and accommodation. The guides love the camels because they don't step on small animals like grasshoppers and hares, while vehicles do. As customers become more environmentally conscious, more companies want to offer holidays that don't harm the natural world. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
And time now for all the action from the world of sports. Beginning with cricket, so in the IPL match played Sunday evening, defending champions Chennai Super Kings kept their slim chance of qualifying for the playoffs alive by beating Delhi Capitals by 91 runs. Chennai's openers Devon Conway and Ruturaj Gaikwad laid a solid foundation with a century opening stand. CSK put 208 for the loss of 6 wickets on board. Conway top scored with 87. In reply, Delhi Capitals were all out for 117 in 17 overs and 4 balls. Moeen Ali impressed with figures of 3 for 13 in 4 overs. Spanish teenager Carlos Alcaraz won his second ATP Masters 1000 title at the Madrid Open, beating defending champion Alexander Zverev 6-3, 6-1 in the finals. Alcaraz stunned world number 1 Novak Djokovic and 21-time major winner Rafael Nadal before cruising past world number 3 Zverev in the title clash. The 19-year-old is the youngest player since the start of the ATP Tour in 1990 to defeat 3 top 5 players at the same event. Moving to the racing tracks, Formula One world champion Max Verstappen won the first Miami Grand Prix for Red Bull on Sunday. With this, Verstappen slashed Ferrari rival Charles Leclerc's overall lead from 27 to 19 points after 5 races. He finished a fighting second, 3.786 seconds behind after starting from pole position, with Spanish teammate Carlos Sainz completing the podium at the Miami Dolphins Hard Rock Stadium. In football, Bayern Munich lifted the Bundesliga trophy on Sunday following a 2-2 home draw against Stuttgart in their penultimate league match of the season. Bayern secured the title, their 10th straight league crown, with victory over runners-up and rivals Borussia Dortmund last month, but had to wait until their last home game of the season to officially celebrate. Over 160,000 runners from across 165 countries took part in the Wings for Life World Run on Sunday, raising 4.7 million euros through entry fees and donations for spinal cord research. There was no set start or finish line to the race. People all over the world joined the run either at one of 7 large-scale group runs, in organized groups, or on their own via an app. The race ended when participants were caught by a real or virtual catcher car, which set off 30 minutes after the runners. And before we wrap up, a quick relook of the top stories of the day. The government committed to development of Bodo-dominated areas, asserts Union Home Minister Amit Shah, inaugurates BSF Central Store and Workshop in Tamulpur, also visits Indo-Bangladesh border in Mankachar, Assam. Strong response by policyholders and institutional investors to LIC's IPO. Issue subscribed nearly 3 times. Bids received for more than 47 crore 70 lakh equity shares. Justice Sudhanshu Dhulia and Justice Jamshed B. Pardiwala take oath as Supreme Court judges. The Apex Court now achieves its full strength of 34. Cyclone Asani turns into severe cyclonic storm. Alerts issued at all ports and coastal areas of Odisha. The fishermen advised not to venture into the sea. And political turmoil intensifies in neighbouring Sri Lanka. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa submits his resignation. Curfew imposed after protests. Ruling party MP killed in violent clashes. So that's a wrap on the news Monday edition from me and the rest of the team. Thank you for your time. See you again same time tomorrow. Good night.